This is Kristin.
And I'm Steve, and you are listening to Cycling Together, a show all about things bikes, riding, and riding together.
For those who don't know, I think most of the people that listen are from around here. It's PMC weekend, Pan Mass Challenge weekend.
Yes, the Pan Mass Challenge, the largest riding fundraising event in the country.
I think it's the largest athletic-based fundraising event, and it's probably the world.
You might be right.
I mean, because it's huge. And it raises money for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. It hit $1 billion last year.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
With a B.
With a B, billion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we like to do is, and you started this how many years ago?
14.
Mm-hmm. We like to you like to set up a tent and a stand about
5 miles.
5 miles from
miles.
the start of the Wellesley start. There's a couple of two
main starts, yep.
You're there to cheer, and you're there to provide last minute. Is it last minute if the ride has already started? Like last minute?
Last minute.
Last minute
yes.
support. Yeah. What are some of the most common things you see every year for these riders who, for the record, at minimum on Saturday, we're doing one day, which is what, 80, 90 miles.
Yes.
And others we're going to be riding 2 days. These are not people out for a casual ride. They are embarking on a
right. The people who come by us are they're at least doing this full Saturday, which means they're going, I think it's between 80 and 90 miles that day. Yes.
So they get on their bike and they start riding. Mm-hmm. And when they get to you, what is the most common thing that they're usually looking for help with?
Well, we do have a lot of low air pressures, always, right? We forgot to inflate the tires.
Or I inflated them and they somehow went down a little last night. Like sometimes.
Yes, just, and we have sometimes just full on flats.
Yeah. Yep.
But I would say shifting issues is the number one thing. Is that people have shifting issues.
Do you think some of that's because maybe it was shifting fine, it's been shifting fine, but in the transportation to Babson, something gets knocked and then they start riding the next morning and they're like, oh,
that's definitely
crap.
the case in many causes.
Okay.
I rarely see bent derailleur hangers, but I have seen them over the years, which is probably from the transportation to Babson.
Yep. Sometimes rubbing, sometimes I do notice a couple of saddle height
brakes
adjustments happen.
Yes, saddle. Yes. This year, one guy's saddle was all the way down. It slipped all the way down.
Yep. And I mean, nothing like tragic. And sometimes it's for lack of preparation. Sometimes I think it's just bad luck.
Nothing that the person has been not able to then continue riding. At least in some cases, we're like, well, you have to make it to the full rest stop where they might have more parts available.
Right,
maybe.
Because each rest stop, PMC is one of the best supported events I have ever participated in. And that means in part that every rest stop has full cycling support, like mechanical support. Local shops, largely Landry's, but a lot of the other shops all chip in with a lot of things. What would you say was our strangest issue, most surprising issue this year?
The most surprising was the pedal cleats.
Yes.
So a woman rides up, she pulls into the tent area, and she says, I can't clip in. Do you have pedal cleats? So she shows me the bottom of her shoe, and she has Look Delta cleats on. Now, Look Delta is the original Look cleat. It was phased out in 1996 when they came out with the Look Keo system. Okay. But exercise bikes still, and spin bikes, Peloton, they still use the Look Delta cleat.
Okay, so she had a cleat on her shoe for a Look Delta.
And she had Keo pedals on her bike, and they do not clip in together. And so she has basically been almost just like skating around with this plastic on top of her pedal. She's unable to, it had to be very difficult to pedal.
Yeah, she'd
that
have
situation.
been better with just a pair of sneakers.
She would have been better
because
off
at
with a pair of
least-
sneakers in that case.
And
yes.
I totally, at one point, you kind of go, how does that happen? But I totally see it, right? You're packing your bag to go. You grab your cycling shoes. And if she has indoor cycling shoes
Yep.
and outdoor cycling shoes, this is why you should always, not always, as much as possible, I like to have the same pedal, same cleats on all my shoes.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Because those are road specific, right?
Those are road
the ones
specific.
when you're walking
Yes.
around, you look like
Yeah,
you're
yeah, no,
walking
they're
like a
big plastic
penguin.
cleats. Yes. So
Do you think there
the
is
front probably just sort of grabbed a little bit?
Yeah.
So there might have been just a little bit if she just sort of was pushing forward slightly with each pedal stroke. She might have had the lip of the cleat being able to grab a little bit.
Right.
But it really had to be really annoying.
I read somewhere that those cleats aren't necessarily as essential as they used to be because shoes have gotten stiffer. And so you can get away with the mountain bike style SPD cleat and pedal. And the nice thing about those are the shoes are easier to walk in and the pedals are two-sided. Would you agree with that assessment?
Well, you can get extremely stiff mountain bike shoes, as you're well aware, because you actually have a pair. And
my foot comes out of them when I walk.
yeah, they're
They don't
because
bend
they have
at
a carbon
all.
fiber sole.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that the very stiffest of road or mountain bike shoes
Yeah.
are often not the best choice for people because they can create hot spots on the bottom of your foot. And so a lot of shoe companies will rate they'll have a stiffness index and they'll put it on the bottom of the shoe. And this is across different brands. And it goes basically from 1 to 10. You're never going to see the low numbers though.
Yeah.
And so that stiffness, that 10 is that just full on, this shoe does not bend.
Yes.
But so usually people are better off in the 7, 8 range of stiffness.
Yeah, and the first couple of years the first year I did PMC, I was on
Road.
I was on road
Yeah,
shoes.
you had Look Kios.
But I switched them for PMC to mountain bike shoes and pedals, mostly so because you're on and off the bike a lot to go like to the bathroom.
Yeah, you
and
just wanted to walk
stop.
around.
To just be able to walk around.
Yep.
But yeah, it's interesting on whether or not we even, in an event like this, if you need, or if you're this kind of rider, if you even need road cleats anymore.
Yeah.
Or I think all the women that I ride with from my team are on SPDs.
I mean, the platform, the contact pedal platform of the road is a little bigger than it is. Even with the side, if the side lugs are contacting even the pedal, you're still going to have a better.
Okay.
So you do have a bigger contact patch of your shoe against the pedal. And that in itself can sometimes prevent hot spots. But again, you can get away with a stiffer shoe on the road with a bigger contact patch than you can on the mountain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then you had one of your last fixes you actually called one of the most satisfying things to fix because it's so easy.
Yes.
And what was
like
that?
It's not.
So we had a young man.
Yeah, it fixes his day. It solves his problem. It was really quick to get him in and out and solved. And that's just one of those satisfying ones. So he comes in and he is borrowing his father's bike.
Yes.
His father has SRAM Axis electronic shifting.
Right.
And he is he was in the big ring up front, and he had front shifting, but he was in the largest cog in the back. So he is just spinning out because most of it's rolling up to this point 5 miles, and there's a lot of flat on this particular course.
Yep. And he was strong. He was a young guy, and he was clearly very strong.
And he's just spinning out. He can't go anywhere, right? Because his right shifter battery had died.
He's like, this is torture. I'm never going to make it.
So
my dad said I should take better care. I should know what I'm doing with this bike.
Yeah.
I'll never hear the end of this.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And what was the fix?
So first thing, I quickly showed him how to change the derailleur manually on the derailleur by pushing the button, so he could get down to the.
You can get off the bike.
I don't think he was paying attention when I showed him that.
He
but
really
it didn't
wasn't,
matter.
but you can get off the bike. You can press the little button on the derailleur, and it'll go boop, 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 and it'll at least get you into a better
gear. But I always carry CR2032 batteries in the van.
Those are button.
So the coin cell batteries. So boom, just pulled out his coin cell battery, swapped in the new one, got him shifting again, and off he went. And now he is all set for the weekend.
Oh yeah, he was so funny. He's not just all set for the weekend. He's all set for ages. Like that battery. They last
about 2 years.
He was like, "Oh, you saved my life. I'm going to recommend you to everyone." What's the name of this place?
Right.
What's the name? So it's I do enjoy now that I'm not riding the PMC, the summer PMC. I enjoy hanging out there. I love hearing the people that are like, "Steve the bike guy," or the one woman who was like, "I saw you in the safety video." I mean, they just fly by. You have no idea who's yelling at you. But
no, and before a bunch of people start coming in, I'll see customers I know and friends I know and that kind of thing, and it's great waving to them, and then people start stopping and needing help, and so I miss hundreds of people going by while I'm busy fixing things, and so I do miss not being able to see all the people that.
Yeah, but you've never been able to see it. I mean, you started setting up there the first year you were a bike mechanic. I actually was like, you can't set up there that like you don't have permission, because it's not an official PMC support tent.
Right.
And you were like, they can't really stop me. It's a public access.
Right.
And I do think at this point it's just they know you're going to be there. We're being helpful. It's all good. Yeah. But at first I was like, we can't break the rules like that. That's crazy. This is the season, I will say, PMC and the rift of, I'll call, I'm not going to call it fear of missing out, because I know I missed out. I need some term for I can't do all the things all the time, but I want to, because, I did the PMC for many years. Have a nice team and friends who ride it. I don't want to do it, but on that day you're like, aw, have fun storming the castle. And kind of the same with the rift, which is what we're going to talk about. We're going to take a break in a minute to talk about the rift, because the same thing. I was like, I wanted to be home. I didn't necessarily want to do it, but then as I was watching pictures of you and all your boys, I was like, aw. Oh, it's fun. So
the PMC is the first weekend of August every year.
Yes.
And is this going to be the fourth year? In the fall, there is a gravel version of the PMC now.
Yeah, so we do that.
So we do that now.
We do. I mean, we're still doing the PMC,
right.
And let's face it, I don't want to. I love my teammates. I love the women that are on our team. I don't love riding on the road, and so from that standpoint, I don't miss it. But yeah, I did have a. Anyway, we're going to on this episode we have our friend Jeff, who we had brought in for an interview about his cycling. We're going to air that in 2 weeks.
Yes,
because while we had him, you two and I talked about the Rift, because he had done that with you. So
right, the Rift is a gravel race in Iceland. So we're gonna bring you that portion of our interview with Jeff and talk about that this week.
We're going to talk about it right now. Okay, while we have Jeff here, you were one of the people who escaped to the Rift this past weekend, which I'm gonna do my confession that Steve came home on Sunday and Monday morning, I was like, I think I'm a little jealous. I think I'm a little angry that you went. I think I'm jealous for a ride I didn't want to do.
So let's go over what the Rift is. And the Rift is a gravel race in Iceland. It started, I believe, in 2017. Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Thereabouts. By Lauf Cycles in Iceland. And they've had they usually have 2 different distances. And this year was a new course, 2 new distances, 140K and 200K, which is roughly 85 miles or 125 miles.
What's that in American?
Yep. And so, yeah, I can't actually recall. I remember sort of a mass beginning to sign up, and I said, if I'm going to go, this is the year. So
how did you guys decide?
How did we decide on this?
How did you decide to do this?
So Bob nucleated things. Bob Jenny, our friend,
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, who wants to go? I'll do some of the legwork on lodging and this and that. And I thought, no way, I don't want to go. And
Really?
well,
Weird.
So I did want to go,
Yes.
but I had a Portugal trip earlier in the year
Okay.
and a Kansas trip early in the year. I didn't have a third ability to leave the country.
Yes. Yep.
And so I said no. And then our friend David Waltz, who was part of a group at that time that maybe had grown up to 12 or 15 people who were in,
Right.
David couldn't go. And so I said, well, okay, now there's a spot. There's a registration paid for. I can help him out.
I'm helping.
I think I had just switched jobs. And so I was in a different decision space than when Bob first raised the idea.
Okay.
And I bought Dave's spot.
Oh,
And
I
then
didn't
was in.
realize you were the late entry. Okay, on that.
Well, I was an early entry. You're thinking about the second time Dave had to withdraw. 'Cause he then got back in when his schedule changed, and then he had to get back out again. So
Oh, so he bought two tickets and sold two tickets.
that's right. I think he's mostly a
Okay.
Rift broker.
Okay. Because I remember was Steve saying to me, the guys are thinking of doing this trip to Iceland called the Rift. I'm not sure if I can do it. I don't know how sure business is going to be, but I'll just buy the ticket. Like it was this kind of
I'll buy the
crawl
entry.
issue. I'll buy the entry.
You know, at
that's
the
a low
time,
investment.
yeah, it was a fairly low investment. Although at the time, I want to say I thought it was a situation where they sold out, and I needed to get as soon as the entries opened up, I needed to get in. I think I've
Does it
since
not?
learned that they would grow that thing as big as it
Right.
could possibly get, and they don't really sell
Oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And so then it was kind of like, oh, well, now I have to commit to the, I think
Right.
now I have to commit to the hotel. Now I have to commit to, then finally it was like, you're going to have to buy your airplane ticket at some point.
Yep.
Right. And then Bob posted a picture, a great group picture of you all with the caption that this was like his birthday
So I never
celebration. Well, you're not on social media, and
Right.
well, neither
And
are
I
you, so
and
you're
I didn't
both
see that
useless
either.
on this.
Right? He probably
Right.
posted on Facebook, so I never saw that it was a birthday thing for him.
So you didn't know going in that
No.
this was like a celebration of his 60th?
that. 60th, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think I maybe jumped in at person 6 or 7,
Right.
and this had been on my list, and I said, well, if all these people are going that I know, if I'm going to do it, this has to be the year. Otherwise, am I going to go alone? So it was that jumping in point.
I'm going to say I had never heard of it. So how did these things end up on your lists? Like, how did you even know about it? Like, because you said it wasn't Bob, that Bob was doing it, but it wasn't the first you had ever heard of it.
No, but if you're on social media and you're into gravel cycling, it's going to inevitably
am
pop up on your
Both
feeds.
of those things.
Yeah, but maybe not in a sick way. I don't know.
Oh,
It's-
that's, I have balance in my For You feed, is what you're saying.
right. But I'm just always thinking about learning about bikes and events and
Yep.
word of mouth. I'm sure it's word of mouth.
Okay, perfect. Every marketing
But
person loves that answer.
I probably listened to 8 different cycling podcasts. So
Wow, I can barely listen to this one.
And that's just cycling podcast. Then if you ask him how many non-cycling he listens to,
oh, well,
he is a podcast connoisseur.
I
I'm
average
with you
2 a
on that.
day.
Okay, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So normal.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so this rift that you guys both went on, well, how did it go for both of you?
It went great.
It was such an incredible week. It did. It really went really, really well. And the weather in Iceland, I think, was better than I expected. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Right? Warmer, certainly. I brought a pair of shorts. I was like, oh, I'll bring a pair of shorts. I ended up wearing them all the time because it was that nice. And so of course, the entire week it didn't rain. And then we get to race morning, and it's raining.
Pretty steady rain.
Steady.
Maybe from 6 a.m. I don't know exactly when I woke up, but probably around 6 a.m. for our 8:30 start. It wasn't cold, though, right? This
Okay.
was not Rasputitsa 2019.
Okay, all right. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And speaking of Jeff as a morning person that we talked about, every time I woke up, and we were in a bunk room, so there were 6 bunks in this room.
Okay.
And every time I woke up, and I'd pull the curtain open, and I'd look down, I go, oh, Jeff's already up and out.
So what should people know about the rift if they want to do it?
So the one thing I would say is that 140K, about 85 miles,
Yes.
it's a hard event, but it's not brutally hard. A couple
What-
of our friends did the 200K, and I think that would have been brutally hard.
Oh, did
Unbound
they?
was brutally
Okay.
hard by virtue of it being, for me, an almost 19-hour effort.
Okay.
This wasn't that. I think my elapsed time was 8:15.
Yep.
My moving was 7:30. With a couple of exceptions, there isn't massive climbing. It's not like riding in Vermont where you can have long, steep climbs. These were moderate to
There was
steep.
some steep. There was
I
definitely
feel like
steep.
the profile of the climb kind of went right up to the middle at the top, and then it went down. Is that what
Yeah.
I saw?
Yeah.
It was almost like steady up. Now you're just up. Now you get to go back down that. And is that because you guys were describing it as a lollipop? So basically, you were going out and
Effectively
around
an out and back. Yep.
So that's why you spent
Yeah.
most of the time climbing up, and then
we
most
were
of the time
going
coming
from
down.
effectively sea level.
okay.
So not too far from the ocean in these flat plains, and we were going up into the highlands, into the mountains, and so that's why we sort of peaked at the extreme range that we were out at it, and then downhill the way down back.
What was the quality of the? Like I saw the pictures. It was very dark, dirt, whatever the
Yep.
whatever the roadway was.
Volcanic.
Very dark.
Yeah.
It was volcanic.
Oh, it's all
like
volcanic,
how
rock and ash.
thick was it? Like was it packed? Was it?
It was packed.
Like,
You
it
never
was-
felt like you were sinking in. I guess
Okay.
there were a
Yep.
few sandy-ish sections, but that was a minority of a significant
It
minority
was
of the course.
harder packed than I was expecting. I was a little bit concerned about the softness that it could be.
Yeah.
And no, I would say this was hard pack.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bigger terrain challenge was that there was a lot of embedded rock that was sharp. And so you, for the significant majority of the course, you had to be paying attention to your line. There were some stretches where you could just sit in and pedal because it was smooth.
Okay.
But for the most part, and maybe not on the climbs where it's just you're moving slowly, but you could easily gash a tire,
Okay.
and nobody wanted to do that and have to deal with that lost time and that
Right.
uncertainty.
How sharp? Have I heard at Unbound that's sharp stuff?
The flint?
That's
Yeah.
the flint.
Yeah.
How would you say that compares?
The flint was not as sharp as what was in Iceland.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't nearly as prevalent. There were some chunky climbs and descents at Unbound, but I would call that, totally guessing, 5 or 10% of the course. It was
Yeah.
mostly smoothish road like what you get at D2R2, and the Rift was much rockier.
Okay. So on a difficulty scale, you've done Unbound, you've done what's the other one out in
Leadville?
Leadville. Now you've done, what would you say was the hardest?
Unbound was the hardest by virtue of it being
Just
the
distance.
almost 19 hours.
Okay.
Leadville at elevation, and for me about 11 and a half hours, with more technical terrain, but not a ton more.
Yep.
The Rift was dramatically easier than those. It was,
Right.
for me, I guess it was a third shorter in time, much less steep climbing at the Rift. Really, I'm a little surprised they don't have a third distance, because I think they could add a lot of people at a maybe 50-mile distance.
I'm in.
85 is just a lot, right? For a
Right.
lot
It
of people,
was.
it was their longest gravel ride, and some maybe even their longest ride ever.
Really?
And
okay.
whereas Unbound has a 25, 50, 100, 200, you
Yeah.
really can find everybody a spot there. If I were growing the Rift, I would try to do that. Maybe, Larry's group did the 200. They started at 7:30 in the morning. We started at 8:30. Start another group at 9:30 and give them, for instance, we rode, I broke the course down into roughly thirds.
Okay.
And so call it 85 miles. So maybe 27 miles or so in each of the thirds.
Yep.
The first third was flattish to gentle uphill. The middle third was where all the big climbing and descending was. And then you're coming back, so it's a gradual descent. And you could do something where you would send people out and so you'd go out the course, and instead of making the big loop, you'd make a small loop.
Yep.
And I think you could make a really great 50-mile event.
I agree with that, and there were a lot of people who clearly, I think, needed a shorter
Yeah.
course.
Well, and you could see, I mean, I think the distance you're talking about is right on the edge for me of what's the ascent? What's the climb?
5,800 feet, I
Yeah,
believe,
so
for the 85-mile route.
About 65 feet of elevation per mile. That's
Okay.
that's how I think about climbing.
Yes.
Yep.
Anything
Same.
less than 50 is not very climby.
Right.
Anything more than 100 is really climby. That's Vermont.
Yeah.
And this was in the middle of that.
Okay. So doable, but yeah, you could see maybe us going out and you doing the longer one. I do the 50 if I didn't feel so inclined to try the
Right.
89. Although I'll admit I was like, maybe.
And
It was
you-
spectacular. That's what differentiated this from anything else I've done. As much as Leadville is a spare beauty,
Yeah.
Unbound is these rolling green Kansas hills that is also stunning. But this was just
otherworldly.
otherworldly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, so the whole time I'm out there, I'm thinking this is not hard in terms of the terrain. There's no single track. I made it hard.
Right.
Well, you raced. You came. You sent us
Yes,
a
but-
text that was like, "So I decided to race at the last minute."
I did, but I kept thinking to myself, if you would come, and I love riding with you, and I thought at that pace,
Cycling together, some might
cycling
say.
together, and I
Having
have
sweaters,
and at that pace, I would have had a very, very enjoyable day, and in this case, it was a difficult day. I enjoyed it in that different way.
Right. Yes. I do. I do think when we ride together in a thing, you definitely maybe at the end are less tired.
Less
You've
tired.
had a different experience.
I mean, here
with
we
the
are,
ride.
2 days removed or from getting back. I guess what now? 3 days from the
Yeah.
race, and my legs are still wasted.
Are
So,
they?
Yeah.
Whereas I rode this morning and felt pretty good. I felt a little
Yeah.
sluggish, but not cracked.
Yep. No, I find it's also tricky. I was worried about you guys coming back on the plane a day after a ride of that extent, because that's when, cramping can.
And
happen.
I had hard cramping during the ride, which
Oh, did you?
which is because of my effort level.
Right.
Right. If I had toned it back, I wouldn't have had that, but it was because of my effort.
Plus, your weather would have been nicer, I heard. So
Yes. Apparently, all the nice weather that I got at the end, sitting there waiting for everybody, was being enjoyed by everybody out on the course. Yes.
do you, Jeff, when you do a ride like this, how often do you end up riding solo or riding with? Because there were 15 of you. How many of you actually rode together?
Oh yeah, yeah. Who did you stick with out
So
there?
I spent a lot of time with Chris, Hal, and Tom Pinsence.
Okay.
And I was probably with at least one of the three of them about half the time. And then effectively solo, which might be riding near someone, but not so close that we're talking. I probably talked to a half dozen people, which was most of the people that I happened to be near and at the same
brief
speed.
conversations.
Yeah.
It was difficult. I didn't have much experience with this out there, but I thought it would be difficult to have that normal conversational. You had to pay such close attention to where you were going that it would be difficult to ride side by side.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yep. Even front to back without, you needed a good amount of space.
Right.
No, I ask in part because when we talked about this on the show about him going out to the Rift, he really seemed to have zero expectation he was going to ride with anybody. And you didn't.
Right.
You didn't ride with anybody.
And I didn't.
Because I think
Which I remember thinking was such
It was only
a
because of the
weird,
videos I watched.
was such a weird attitude. I know, but I don't. When
I could have purposely stayed with people. That was a choice.
right.
Yeah.
And it really just came down to the first climb, and I just said, I'm gonna go the pace that I feel great at, and I got to the top, and everybody was gone, and I said, well, I actually might as well
Right.
just go for this.
yeah.
I think the two other people who might have been closest to you in speed had a relatively early mechanical, and that perhaps took them out of it. I don't know where they were relative to you. You were probably ahead of them, but they ended up finishing pretty fast given the hour it took them to get their mechanical
Oh,
sorted.
yeah, I
yes.
did hear. So there were some, you mentioned slicing, right? Like
Yeah.
some people sliced or someone sliced their tire. And ultimately in that situation, just replacing it with a tube turned out to be maybe the better thing.
The only thing is, so at Unbound, I did that. I put a tube in, and I was totally fine with it because it's not a puncture. As much as you hear about Unbound being punctures are a big deal.
Yeah.
That's for the pros who are racing super fast in packs where they can't see what's coming at them.
Right.
Once you're by yourself, at all of these events, you've got enough sight line to see the line and avoid things.
Yeah.
But you can just get unlucky. I punctured once at Unbound, put a tube in. I think the risk of puncturing, I guess it's only going to be a pinch flat is what's going to get you with a tube in. But you're hitting stuff with relatively low pressure. So they ended up putting a tube in because they couldn't repair the tubeless.
Yeah.
And I think I would have probably ended up in the same place, but I would have felt a little bit worse about putting a tube in. I would have felt like the whole system was fragile the rest of the way.
Oh, I agree. You're right.
Yeah.
I would have thought yes. Yeah, if I had to have a tube in, I would think it was fragile.
You've talked on the podcast about people who ride heavy and ride light.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a reasonably heavy person amongst the cycling community. You look around, and this
Right.
is not a place to have body image issues.
No,
when
it's not.
you can see the rib cage of many of the people.
And
But I
everyone's
think
wearing spandex.
right. But I think I ride reasonably light. I don't have a lot of mechanicals.
Yep.
I'm both choosing good lines. I'm not totally sending it. I'm a bit risk averse in that. And
Yeah.
I just know how to use my body as a shock absorber and not let the bike take all the beating. And if that's not your style, a course like this could punish you.
Yep.
Yeah, the course was so unpredictable in many ways that you had to be very fluid. So, I mean, you could be going along and just suddenly the whole bike would jerk up at you. And, and you have to be used to having your arms just taking that, absorbing that bike up instantly. And it's not even a thing. And some people are more rigid. And so when they hit that dip or that bump or whatever, they don't let the bike come up into their body, and then the tires can really take the brunt of that.
Right. But I'm still going to go back to I think some of it, all of that aside, some of it going into a ride like this is your attitude going to be, I'm going to race and get done really fast, or am I going to ride and stick with some of the people that brung me?
I was
And
less
it's-
concerned about that, though, than just not really expending myself such that I might blow up.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
For me, I probably rode this at the pace that I would ride the Guilford Gravel Grinder or
Okay.
D2R2. It's a hard effort, but I'm not trying to maximize my effort.
Right.
I don't want to, at the end, I want to be, I probably could have ridden that half an hour faster. But what would have been the point?
Would you do it again?
So during the event, and actually before the event, I said no.
Okay.
Having done it, I would. I don't know that I will. That is, I just don't know that I'll seek out Iceland again as opposed to Big Sugar or any of the other things that I haven't done yet.
Okay.
But the fact that the effort was manageable for me, again, is a decent but 60 plus racer.
Yeah.
And that the scenery was so stunning and differently stunning. It wasn't just, it's a lava field and that looks stunning and you're seeing lava field the entire time. The terrain, it was, I don't know what the geology term would be for microclimates, but it was kind of like microgeology around there. Sometimes you're up in the high mountains with snow fields. Other times you're in what seemed like almost tidal plains. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is just dirt and other times it's embedded rock. So that variety was really cool.
Oh, now we need to go to Iceland.
And I have to agree. I mean, I said the same thing as Jeff. I said, no, I'm not going to, I don't see a need to do this again. There are other events out there in the world. But would I go back and ride with you, Kristin? I absolutely 100% would. I would love to go and ride along with you on that course.
You mean slower.
Slower.
You would like to go and ride it slower
Yes.
and enjoy
Yes. And actually
enjoy
eat the sandwiches at the rest
and
stop. Yes.
All right. Well, if I can serve a purpose in that way. No, I have to say, when I first heard about it, I immediately was like, nah, like I'm good. The kids are going to be home. I don't necessarily want to be going to Iceland. Even as you got ready for it, I was like, have fun, guys. Two things. I will say the pictures were spectacular and they did fill me with FOMO. And then that group of all the boys, I thought, well, now we have to get a group of women together. This is ridiculous. Like, I will say, I looked at that group of men. Y'all seemed great and happy. I love you all. But I was like, there's no girls here.
It would have been odd if there'd been one woman, I think.
Yes, it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, and I mean, it's funny because I thought about it and I was like, well, I wouldn't have wanted to be the only woman either.
But if it had been 16 and 4 instead of 20 and 0, then I think it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't speak for what it's like to be a woman in that kind of setting, but you know these people, right? So it's not the broy jerk culture, but I totally get when you're a minority like that.
I wouldn't have felt unwelcome. You guys are an amazing group of guys. I don't think there's any question that if we had I'm not differentiating. We'll talk after. No,
we're gonna have an after dark episode.
Exactly. Now let's break it down. No, I absolutely. If I had said, "Oh, and I'm coming," I don't think there would have been any unhappiness. I think I would have been welcome.
We would have had to get a room in the west wing of the hotel we stayed, not in the upstairs.
Steve's accommodations would have been much nicer.
Yes.
Why?
or we could have just stayed in the same bunk. We could have made room in that bed.
Yeah.
Or I can get my own bunk. Anyway, but there is, and I will say there is something about being the only woman that's actually can be with a good group of guys fun. Right? Like, yeah, I'm the only, but it is funner when you have a couple of other, badass chicks with you that you're taking this on. So
I think about Elaine, for instance, in the mountain bike rides is often the only woman.
Yeah.
And if someone pointed that out, they go, oh, yeah, I guess she is.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't have been a defining feature.
Yes.
Because she's one of the cyclists.
Yes.
And you're like that. I think about a lot of the women who race on 545 Velo or who ride with the McGregors.
Yeah.
It's a secondary consideration, at least from the guy perspective, where you're not thinking, oh, there's not a lot like me here.
Yeah. No, and I don't know that. I do think it. I do get into situations where I'm like, huh. But as I said, I saw that group of guys and I was like, well, now I have a new mission. I need to get another group to go to Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
So.
There were certainly women on the ride, but it's probably like any of the events where if it was more than 15%, I'd be surprised.
Yep.
But I think if you had a group of 20 women there, you would just own that place, right? You would be known by everybody. You would stand out for that differentiation.
I think you're right.
You'd be you'd just be the mayors of the town.
I feel like poor Jason when he went to cyclocross and said, well, this is Alex's husband. right? That's my goal. Anyway, all right. Well, let's wrap this up. I'm glad you guys had a good time, and I'm glad you didn't fall into the magma. So nice job there.
That's right. We were lava free.
All right, we're back. Before we, because I know you totally listened to the interview that I edited. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, somebody wrote in that I should give you notes ahead of time. I should prepare you. And I was like, what do you think that iPad is that's in front of him?
Yeah, well, there's an outline of notes. There's a concept of notes here.
What would you, if somebody wanted to was thinking about doing the Rift?
Yeah.
Do you have, you can say no. Do you have like 5? Do you have, what advice would you give for someone who's thinking about the Rift?
Okay. Off the cuff here, because I have not thought about this. So let's think about everything that you would want to just sort of 5 top things that I could recommend for the Rift. Okay. Number 1, I suppose, is if you can swing it, stay in the start town at a place called Midgard. That it was a phenomenal place. I cannot recommend it enough. Where we stayed, we stayed in like a bunk room. So imagine sort of it was basically a room with kind of like a hostel with 6 bunks. And they had curtains and then the bathrooms are obviously down the hall and the shower rooms are down the hall, which were all really nice. But they apparently do have private rooms if, say, you're a couple and you want your own room. I believe there were a couple of private rooms downstairs.
I'm sorry, you're going to the Rift. You don't need a private room.
Yeah, right. So at Midgard and the food and the restaurant in the Midgard. I mean, it was phenomenal. Just
cool.
What a great place.
All right. So that's where to stay.
Wonderful. So the actual ride itself, the number one thing would be the biggest tires your bike can fit. And so for me, that was 50s. I think I can probably fit about a 2.1 mountain bike tire, but I had Continental 50 millimeters in there and decided to just keep those.
Okay.
That is a large gravel tire. Absolutely. Large gravel tire, lower pressure, right? So I was probably running 25 PSI maybe, right? Quite low for me. Tubeless. Yes. So that would be number 2, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Number 3, well, sticking on the tire plan, make sure you bring the stuff with you that you need. Yeah. So, and you can't. Oh, so now we can't fly with CO2 cartridges, but we were able to buy them at the expo there in town the day before. Of
course.
Okay. Yeah. So and we'd actually in one of the guys had gotten them in Reykjavik the couple days before.
Yep.
They were expensive, but if you want to have CO2s, you'll be able to get them there. But I would recommend both carrying CO2 cartridge on you and a mini pump.
Didn't you say that you actually passed somebody
who
did not had a flat tire and did not have a pump?
Yeah. I'll briefly give that story.
Okay.
All right. We are maybe 16 miles in, something about that. Okay. And I'm coming up on 3 people. And the one in the back, 2 were together, clearly. One was sort of hanging out behind them. And I could see his rear tire was really low.
Okay.
And he looks back at me and he goes, is my rear tire getting flat? I said, yeah, I think you may be flatting. And he goes, well, do you have a pump or something? Now, this is not the PMC. This is a race.
Right.
Now,
PMC's a ride.
Now, I knew there were a few hundred people behind me.
Yes.
And I, at this point, had decided, I think I'm going to kind of race this or go as best I can.
Yes.
So at that point, the mechanic in me and the helper in me, and we've talked about events I've done where my purpose was to stop and help people.
Yes.
And it was hard for me at that point, but I said, I can't stop my race because you decided to not bring any inflation. So this guy was like raw dogging the Rift, right? Like no CO2, no pump.
Right.
And
I'm fairly
I didn't take a good look at his bike, but I'm going to say now, sort of in my head, I could see no packs, no bags, no anything.
I'm fairly sure all your documentation also said, be prepared to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Now, he was probably a half mile from the first rest stop and support. So he was also not that far away from help, and there were going to be a couple hundred people who were not racing behind.
Did you say anything to him, or did you just keep going? Or did you say no?
That's what I said on the fly as I flew by him.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's. I actually don't blame you at all. I'm the first to say again, like that. We'll be like, "Are you okay?" He's a mechanic, but again, we're on the rail trail, right? Like we're on the. Right. But a race is a different scenario.
Yeah.
And if you came from whatever distance and you spent that much money on it,
right?
Then, dude, buy a pump.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't want to sound unsympathetic, but okay.
All right. So that was number
ready.
That was number 3. Bring your stuff. Bring tubeless plugs and a spare tube too, the emergency tube. And I had then I had stick-on emergency patches for the tube. Should I need those? I mean, I had.
So you couldn't like throw it at him.
I had no inflation problems. My tires were phenomenal. Well, but I was prepared.
That's Murphy's Law.
That is Murphy's Law, right?
Right. You overly prepared, so you were fine.
I had a multi-tool, right? So
okay. All right. So that was
Yep. What's the next thing? Oh, so. You do not need to be. This is well supported. They
Yes.
have check. You can check out ahead of time where the intervals are for the rest stops, and the rest stops are supplied. So although one was a little undersupplied, although I think it was only because they hadn't quite done it by the time I got there, because I heard other people behind me.
You mean you were too early?
I was a little too early.
Because you were so fast.
No, come on.
So fast.
But they had, gels and snacks and that kind of stuff. And then one had like sandwiches and had a lot of food to it.
And how was if you say ran into trouble and you could not go any further? Did they have like SAG vehicles?
There were roaming vehicles.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Good. And there were enough of them.
I think so. You might, depending on where an incident happened, you could be waiting half an hour, probably.
Well, that's fine.
But
yeah,
they're gonna get you.
We've done events where it was like, oh no, we do not have enough capacity to get anybody home, right? Like it was just, again, that expectation, everything's gonna be fine, and it turns out some people need a ride home.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's good to know.
And then I'd say the final thing would be maybe suspension. And what I mean by that is, so the big tires with the low pressure is suspension system number one. But I had a suspension stem.
Yep.
And I had not really a suspension seat post, but I could see how that would be really nice. I have an ergon post, which is a split carbon post, which does provide much more flex than a normal seat post.
Yep.
And I just couldn't imagine doing this without like that, especially that suspension stem.
Do you see there seems to be a movement to I don't even call them gravel bikes. We started calling them mixed terrain bikes, right? Like you have to flat bar with a suspension in the front. Maybe it's a hardtail mountain bike. Maybe it's kind of in a weird. Did you see any of those? Like
no.
Or were most people on traditional gravel bikes?
Yeah, no,
fairly new type of bike.
Definitely traditional gravel bikes.
Okay.
I didn't even see that many of the gravel suspension forks.
Well, Chris had one.
Well, no. Now Chris's bike is a little unique. He doesn't have one of the gravel suspension forks. He has a full on cross country RockShox SIDS fork on his gravel bike.
Yes.
So he definitely had the plushness out there. Yeah. So many of the pro racers, I don't think were using much.
Okay.
But boy, did it really just help with fatigue.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go.
There we go.
So we'll see you at the Rift next year. No, I'm kidding. My issue is, like, I was thinking about this today on our mixed terrain ride. Like, in theory, I want to go to the Rift. In practice, I hate training for things. And that's really something I would have to train for. I like to like to go out and raw dog it. Like, I just like to,
I came into it in my highest Strava fitness level number in years, or at least in 2 years.
I don't even think that we rode that much.
And but no, I guess I've done a little bit more consistent riding this year.
Yeah.
But I didn't train for the Rift.
Teams. Yeah.
Right. I just was like, okay, this is just, in reality, you're going out into the middle of nowhere in the center of Iceland around a volcano. Yes. But it's just another ride in a lot of ways. And there's support tents out there.
It is for you. I can't necessarily you have a baseline strength that I don't always have. And so I would just I don't think I'd have to train a lot more, but I would just have to be more thoughtful about it. And I'm not very thoughtful.
I did not train for the speed I went.
I'm not very thoughtful about my training in general, right? I just kind of, like, even when in the winter, I don't do training plans. I just get on and go, let's ride for an hour. That looks good. Oh, crap. I picked one with a huge climb and it's actually 3 hours. I would have to be a little more strategic. I can, and I would be, because if you're going to spend that much money, you should make the most of it. It's kind of like my first year I did the PMC, and I followed the training plan to the T, and everybody was like, you're overtraining. And my thought at the time, which was, I want to enjoy it. which I did. But by the last PMC, I was like, meh. I was overtraining, so there's a halfway, there's a middle spot I have to find.
Yeah.
What was nice about that, and I don't know if the Rift does this, is there was an actual plan for me to follow. It wasn't like, I think
PMC puts out
a like, if you're going to do the 2-day, this is what you need to start on this date. This is the mileage you need to be doing each weekend. And then as you get closer, you start doing 2 days because, of course, you need to get ready for 2 days in a row in the saddle.
Right.
And then it has you start, tapering. So it was a great plan. They had a really nice, very simple. If I can have that, I can actually follow that. The challenge, not like it's not that much of a challenge, but it's like with the Rift, it'd be like, what would be the right plan for this? But if the Rift just said, here's a great plan, I could probably follow that to a T. So anyway, all right. Let's, we have 2 things. We have a scene while scrolling you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Or is it just your life? That is reflected by the news.
It is, right? So there's been a lot. Again, tariffs have been all over the news this week. So as I'm scrolling, there's just constant articles about the tariffs.
Yep.
So I did want to talk about the tariffs, right? In terms of the impact, because it has hit your bike shop. And it is hit hard.
Well, it's hit our bike shop, so we presume it means it's hit all of
them. In terms of, I'm going to
like
basically in terms of Shimano and SRAM, let's talk about like those 2 companies of which most people have parts from.
Yes.
And they're going to be impacted by this. So let's, on the road side, I'm going to give some examples here.
Okay.
So on the road side, the Shimano Ultegra chain, the HG701, right? That is the day in, day out, that 11-speed chain. You're like every shop is just constantly replacing on bikes. So, so many people have road bikes with 11-speed.
And we're replacing them because it helps protect the other components, not because
their chains it's a wearable item. Their chains are worn out and they need a new chain.
Yes.
That used to be 42, and it is now 50. So there's a 18% or so increase. And then the Ultegra 11-speed cassette was $93.99, and it is now $115. One thing I noticed from Shimano is they used to do a lot of 99-cent things, and now a lot of their new MSRPs are whole numbers.
And I was going to say, these are MSRPs.
These are MSRPs, which is what most shops are selling at, the suggested retail price from the manufacturers. And what we kind of have to.
It's just easiest. Yep. Like, how much work do you want to do and figure out the cost of stuff?
Right.
Go with the MSRP.
Right. Exactly. I do know some shops who actually sell over MSRP on wearable items. We won't get into that. Okay.
We're not naming names.
So on the mountain bike side,
the
Shimano Dior 12-speed 6100 cassette. There's a wearable item.
Yep.
Basically the lowest entry level of the 12-speed cassettes for Shimano, and that was $96.99. Also now $115. That's like 18%.
Okay.
And then the SRAM GX Eagle chain. Again, those things are changed day in, day out at every shop because so many bikes have SRAM Eagle drivetrains.
Yep.
And I don't even bother with the SX or NX chains, the lower ones. The price difference isn't enough, and the quality of the GX is better enough that I just straight up GX for me. So that I used to sell those for $38. And those are now 50. Yeah.
Are we still seeing an issue with like knockoff chains?
Yeah. So here's the thing, and I think we kind of have to just lay this out there. You're going to see these prices being changed at shops to these MSRPs. And there are certainly going to be online retailers who maybe had hundreds of these things in stock, and they're still selling it cheaper. And I even did a quick look, and in some cases, there were some well-known online retailers selling less than my current cost on these prices, on these parts, I should say, right?
Yes.
So don't blame your shop when they're charging these retail prices because we have to. We don't buy hundreds at a time. We buy 10 or 20 at a time.
Right.
And so we are now have been buying at these new higher prices.
Right. And is it copacetic
Yeah.
to buy a chain online and bring it to your shop?
I mean, I let people do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But I would say don't if you can.
Well, I mean, if this is a podcast about biking, but it's also bike shops. I mean, first of all, that does cut into your profit margin.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's a markup.
Yep.
You make money two ways: through markups on materials and your time.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yep.
So that's part of the issue. And the other is you don't really know where they got that chain.
So let's
there's
talk
gonna be
about
a
those
challenge
counterfeits.
for you on that. Yeah.
Don't buy parts on Amazon or eBay unless the seller is somebody you can look up and go, oh, that's a physical bike shop in this city. Okay, if they are a physical bike shop and you can look that up and see that, and they're selling on Amazon or eBay, okay, you're probably fine. Okay, but there are so many. There's so many, especially Shimano, parts that are too good to be true for price. And their amount of counterfeits on Amazon and eBay is just unbelievable. So one time, like I had even said, that Dura-Ace chain, there is no way they're selling a Dura-Ace chain for that price. So I bought it. And I got it in, and the blue box was like just a hair different, but perfect.
Yeah.
You would never know it was not a Shimano chain from the blue box. Then I took it out of the packaging. First thing I noticed was the type of plastic that the chain was in was wrong. So that was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then when I got the chain out, it was like, wow, this is garbage. I mean, the width specs of the links was wrong for an 11-speed chain and all that kind of stuff. So it looked perfect. It looked the part. And a regular consumer is just not going to know.
It was playing the role in a movie.
Yeah.
It totally would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
What's the risk, beyond obviously losing money, but of using a counterfeit chain?
Well, in like this case, I suppose it could do damage to your cassette and your chainring teeth. I don't know. It was definitely too wide for 11-speed. It's going to shift horribly.
Okay.
Usually the only risk is that the part is going to just perform badly. But there could also be failures.
Yeah.
And there are counterfeit derailleurs from Shimano that look exactly correct.
Okay.
But they are junk.
Right.
So you really have to be careful with a lot of these parts. And I think it's going to get worse again. It got bad during COVID because of the part shortages.
Yep.
And it might get bad again because of these increased prices.
Well, that's in part why I asked.
Yep.
Do you see more people either waiting longer to do their service or doing more service and not buying a new bike now because of what's going on?
Well, all of these big price increases are only within the past, say, 4 to 6 weeks, I'd say.
Okay. So it has.
So people don't realize yet that
Right.
how much everything has gone up.
Okay.
Yep.
That'll be interesting. All right. Anything else on tariffs?
No.
All right. We will. And we did get a bunch of comments about our conversation related to cycling caps. So, as I mentioned on the last show, we're on TikTok now.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok's so interesting. I share the same 3-minute video to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And TikTok, which I'm not a TikTok person, I'm not that comfortable with the platform as a user, but I've been uploading the videos. The amount of engagement on TikTok is fascinating. We get a lot of comments.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little video about the caps. And, well, number one, you admitted.
Yeah, I admit I was wrong about the caps. More people use them than I realized. And I wasn't thinking about the real, genuine, good uses for them. A lot of bald people in one case.
Today, did you even realize that one of the guys we were riding with was wearing a cap?
No. See, there we go.
Yeah, it was very subtle.
Yeah.
It was
No, wait,
very small.
A actual cycling cap with a little brim that goes up and down?
He was wearing, he had his, but it's because he had a darker helmet on and it had a very small brim.
Okay.
And yeah, he was absolutely, and I was wondering if you even noticed that he was wearing it because it was so subtle. It almost looked like it was part of the helmet. And he is follically challenged, and he said he wears it all the time because it helps with
sun and sweat.
Yes, sun. He was like sunburns, and that was the big comment we got on TikTok was sweat. Even somebody was saying, I didn't look this up, that the brim is designed to help wick the sweat. That's what the brim is for. I don't actually know that that's the case. I do find that it helped with a little bit of rain that one time, but.
Okay.
Yeah. It inspired me.
Yes, I was wrong.
It inspired me. I have a new cap.
That more people use that than I realized.
Going to try them again. All right. Well, that will do it for this week. As we said, in 2 weeks, we will have our friend Jeff back on for his full interview. In the meantime, Cycling Together with Kristin and Steve is a production of Steve the Bike Guy, an independent bike shop in Massachusetts, and Sundin Marketing.
If you like the show, please leave a review or share with a friend. And for show notes, links, or to leave a comment, question, or topic suggestion, please visit cyclingtogether.bike.
You can follow the shop on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Steve the Bike Guy.
All right. Thanks for joining the ride. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.